Hey, thanks so much for joining me for these conversations. My name is Richard Bezainot, and I teamed up with Jermaine Bull from Sal Consulting, and we started this series just to have general conversations to help you, the entrepreneur, identify with other entrepreneurs the issues that you go through in building your businesses and some of the pitfall and challenges that we get ourselves into. We are by no means experts, but we do have honest conversations for issues that you might be dealing with. Enjoy. Chatting. So I think the first thing to start with is how's it going?
Ah, Rich, it's going as well as it can be. Eh? It's last couple of I was just texting Alan earlier. I was last couple of months have been a bit trying, but it's very testing. We've gone from being accountants to almost being psychologists. you know, um, Clients just needed to talk about stuff. You know, more than just our normal mandate of advice that we normally give clients, because we were all in the same boat ultimately. So we're hoping to get through this period in one piece, but we can only do it as a collective. Not just you, the client. I'm the service provider. We gotta do the collective thing. So yeah. Other than that,
You know,
yeah, it's been. I mean, you're an entrepreneur. You know how challenging it's been now the last couple of months. Yeah, it's been hectic.
just so that we get some of the formalities out of the way, why don't you just introduce yourself to the
Ah, of
to the
course.
non-existent
Yeah,
audience so that we can
of course,
listen.
of
Yeah.
course. My name is Jermaine Bull. I'm a director at Sal Consulting Incorporated, situated in Cape Town. We offer financial services such as payroll, accounting, and tax. Yeah, we've been around for the last 10 years. August, actually, this year it will be 10 years.
Wow.
So super excited about that,
Yeah.
despite
Congrats.
the chaos in the world. So yeah, that's who we are. Or yeah.
Cool. And for those of you that don't know me, I'm Richard Vizena, Managing Director of Imagination Info Solutions. We do crazy things with Excel because we believe that you use the tools that you love and forget the nonsense. So, automation, reporting, complex, simple, doesn't matter. I've got my trademark course, the Data to Dashboards in 30 minutes. So if you want to check that out, I'll leave a link below. But yeah, this is the first conversation that Jermaine and I are having where we felt that there's time that business owners like us, the small micro business owners, we're not mega business owners. We haven't sold our businesses for some great exit amount. We are working in our businesses and working on our businesses, trying to grow, trying to stay afloat, and maybe the conversations that we have will resonate with you. So I reached out to Jermaine a couple of months ago and said, hey, is there anything that we can talk about that maybe both your clients and my clients need to hear, or just other entrepreneurs that they want to bounce ideas around? And Jermaine was kind enough to say, yeah, let's do it. It took us a while to get calendars going because just as we were gonna start, we got hit by COVID-19. Well, the world got hit by COVID-19,
Yeah.
and so the focus was very different from that. And so here we are with our first conversation. I have no idea what we're going to talk about, but our conversations generally are interesting. So let's, not that this is an endorsement. If you do not partake, then no worries. But I've got my favorite drink here. Cheers to that. Cheers, Jermaine. It's
Cheers, Richard. Yeah.
perfect. And what you can
Yeah, I
always
guess.
always cut stuff out if we feel that it's
Yeah.
not
No, no,
appropriate.
totally.
You can cut it out.
Yeah, I guess, Rich, we could probably just chat about the last 3 months. What's lockdown mean for you as a business, for you as a person, for you as a business. Um, you know, um, Obviously it's impacted everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
But how it's impacted you from a, the obvious question is obviously you, the Richard, the entrepreneur, but how has it impacted you as a person?
Yeah.
Um, because all of a sudden the last 3 months, I know me personally, there was a very thin line between, I could easily wear Jermaine, the personal hat. That's me outside of the business. But as entrepreneurs, you never really have that. You never really have that separation. You know, you all in, and yes, you have family time and all of that. But you know, COVID has obviously impacted all of us from a personal point of view as well.
Yeah, it's a great question, Jermaine. So, for me personally, I felt um, I can't just talk about the last 3 months. I've been
Mm-hmm.
in business
Mm-hmm.
now for 12 years,
Yeah.
and when you at a 12-year period, I just picked up with both saying a lot.
Yeah.
So but
Yeah.
after 12 years, you really feel like you should be somewhere else, man. And so what this last 3 months has done for me personally has been a a self evaluation of, like, am I actually good at business? So there's been a lot of self doubt that's come about. There's been a lot of um, negative thinking, honestly, depression a little bit. I haven't been uh, the the best person to hang around. It's thrown, even though I have been working from home exclusively for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
uh, the the having I've got two kids, and having the kids at home, and you know they can't be quiet because they're kids, and my wife
Mm.
having to try and like do the homeschooling thing. Suddenly now she's a teacher, and I'm trying to
Mm.
help, and then so all those things created so much more stress and
Mm.
challenges that
Yeah.
it just compounded everything else. The A lot of people sort of spoke to me and said, like, oh, well, it must be easy for you because you work from home, you're used to it
From
or
home.
whatever.
Yes.
And the difficult thing to explain to
Mm.
people is that, yeah, I do work from home, but under normal circumstances, on a weekend or at least once or twice a week, I go out and I experience the world. I
Yeah.
get that fresh air, and this is my
Yeah.
reconnect. But when I didn't have that, so a week felt like a month for me. So
Mm.
to put 3 weeks, and it felt like 3 months of being trapped indoors, it drove
Mm.
me nuts. And then also because I like cleaning the house and cleaning the garden, like those are like therapeutic things for me. I couldn't do that
Yeah.
because I couldn't take the dirt away, and then so it created this very very dark time for me emotionally,
Mm.
where I lost a lot of my focus,
Focus. Yeah.
and it made everything seem worse. So it
Mm.
yeah, that was a big challenge for me over this last 3 months. The business side of things
Yeah.
definitely felt the impact, and so yeah,
Mm.
that was just added to it as well.
Mm.
And for you, I mean, you talk about like your accountants, but now you suddenly had to be therapists. Like I mean, an
Therapist.
IT
Yeah.
guy, and had to be a teacher, but
Yeah. So for me it was a strange one. I mean my business has always been, we've always had this idea that we want to work remotely, and we want to, that's always been the goal down the line. What COVID-19 did for us was we had to accelerate that, call it, evolution of our business. Um, we've invested heavily up until that point into IT, into our IT infrastructure, but I didn't know that we were ready up until we went into lockdown. And for me, that was extremely stressful because all of a sudden, from manning a team day in, day out at the central location, we all scattered. And thank heavens the infrastructure was on point. But then, like you mentioned earlier, I became a therapist. It was, every day, religiously, I got calls from clients that I wouldn't necessarily deal with on a day-to-day basis because we've got payroll teams that take care of their needs. But the MDs or the owners of those businesses just needed an ear. They wanted to chat to uh, the owner of the business, find out what you're doing, will it work? And obviously, for us, it was just as new as for the client. So, so as I'm standing there on the other side of the line, I have to give advice to a client, and it's a new experience for me as well. So it was very taxing from a personal point of view. I had to adapt to dogs barking and my niece running around, can't understand why I can't spend 15, 20 minutes with her because I was too afraid just to run away from the phone. So it got better as lockdown obviously went on, but yeah, it was extremely stressful. But from a business point of view, Richard, it was yeah, it was, we had to make sure we reconnect with our clients on a completely different level. We're not just there to earn revenue and just leave the client to their own devices. So from that point of view, I found great joy in just connecting with the client on just a completely different level. Trying to make sure that both the client and ourselves can just get over the line together. Um, so yeah, it's but it's like I told my business partner, there's opportunities, man. Throughout all of this, there's still opportunities out there.
Yeah, of course. I mean, so I think about the relationship that we've had over the last 10 years, having been a client, becoming friends, and now looking at sort of ventures together. Um, it does change the dynamic when you are a source that people can reach out to you beyond crunching the numbers. And
Yeah.
so if I look at the stuff that you were saying, like, besides just trying to be like a therapist for someone, like the stuff that
Mm,
I've reached out to you to talk about, what in your mind, without probably naming any specific clients, but what is there a common thread that people were reaching out to you about um, during this last 3 months?
I think especially the clients who had more than one employee, I think the big concern for them obviously was more along the lines of, hey, I'm not getting any income. So, how can I maintain or keep my existing staff um, happy? Um, so that was a big challenge. Obviously, frustration with the UIF TERS scheme. Um, so no
Just
one could no.
do you know anyone that got paid?
Yeah, I do. We've got better at the process, by the way, Richard. We got better with the process, but the
I,
process
I
changes
don't
all
know.
the
I
time.
don't know anyone that got paid, which is that you apply. It's like, oh, cool. Like, it's a mystery of who's getting paid.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because just this afternoon I heard the site went down again. So yeah, it's that frustration. But I think the common theme, Richard, to answer your question, it's more on. I think clients obviously went into panic mode. Instead of there was a couple that kind of closed their doors early. So I mean, they're well within their rights to go that route. But yeah, maybe part of me is thinking maybe they just you know stay in there a bit longer. They could have gone over the worst. But again, it's each to his own. Um, we those type of clients we still trying to help in terms of just from a compliance point of view. But the common theme is some clients just wanted to shut down immediately. Um, and then yeah, that's the commonality amongst most of our client base.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reality of my call with you, I can talk about my business, is that we had looked at sort of three possible outcomes, and the most
Yeah,
undesirable outcome was closing our doors, and we said, like, establish that that's not what we want, but let's be realistic. If that was
it's
to happen, what would we have to have in place? What would the effects be as directors, as family, as human beings? You know, because
yeah,
that's also a real part of it. I know at one, you're running a business, it changes things, and people don't understand that. I read these news articles all the time that talks about employees' rights, but no one talks
mm,
about the business owner's rights. I've
mm,
been called a corporation, I mean,
mm,
to my face from an employee.
mm,
Like,
mm.
so you corporations, that was the statement. And I was like, what, wait, what do you mean, you
Yes.
corporations? Like, my name is Richard. You know
Richard,
that.
yes.
We've worked together for a
Mm,
while, and
mm,
so that it changes things. Where as soon as like something like this happens, the employees, and this is not a generalization, but I do feel and find that there's this attack on a business for getting, even if there's business owners there, that
yeah.
they're human beings, that they also have families, they're also worried, and so they just see this corporation, especially in a
Mm,
small and micro business arena. Maybe they're employing one or two people. It's
mm,
all about one of the things that annoyed me, and I don't want to get on the wrong side of the law of the topic, but I'm not here to do that. I'm here to express
mm.
how I feel. I
How
read
you feel, yeah.
an
Mm,
article that spoke about your rights as an employee regarding leave in COVID 19. I was like, how how is this article correct? Because
mm,
it was all in favor of the employee. You couldn't put someone on leave, like on mandatory leave, and I was like, if you want to survive, like have your job at the end of this, the company still existing at the end of this, like if that's what you want, then maybe going on mandatory leave right now is the right thing to do.
will
Because
achieve that goal. Yes.
yeah, and so
Yes.
people aren't having that kind of balanced conversation.
Mm,
It's almost like there's this continual battle against,
mm,
it's us against them. It's the employees against the employers. You know that the business owners are rich, wealthy, fat cats. And
mm,
I just, from my personal experience, that just isn't true. I know a lot of people try to portray that they are wealthy and they don't have financial struggles, but I know that that's not true for a lot of
mm,
businesses, at least in the foundation years. So, um, yeah, so that's just the theme that I got there was this
yeah.
defense
But
of the employer, because the employees, sorry, there's the defense of the
mm,
employees, and quite right, the people lost their jobs, so I'm not
mm,
discounting that, and it
mm,
was terrible, and I've had to
yeah.
retrench people in the past,
Yeah.
and it's never good. But one thing I do know is that almost every single person that I've had to retrench or is it moved on from the company is in a
Mm.
better place now.
Better place. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
hard to do it and hard to have the conversation in the beginning, but
Mm,
if they stayed with the company, and let's just throw a scenario here. Let's say your
yeah.
company is struggling. You got company X, it's struggling. You employ 10 people. You can't afford to pay all 10 people. You retrench 5 of them, right? That 5 people hate you. The other 5 are nervous,
Yeah.
but the 5 that leave eventually go on and find other jobs. And that's what happens most of the time. And they do get, they of course do, you give, maybe you give good recommendation letters, you
Mm,
do your best to help them through the
yeah.
journey. It's a discussion that happens between both parties, because you're a small business, you're not a corporation, as I was called.
Yeah. There's that word again.
Exactly. And so
Yeah.
they go on and they find a better job. Maybe it's got better pay. Maybe it takes 1 or 2 steps. Maybe it doesn't happen immediately. Maybe the next job is a survival job, and then the job after that is a better job. That can
Mm,
also happen. But the
mm.
company that retrenched you, who now had that 5 people still have jobs, rather than the company closing on people
Closing its
complete, and
doors.
then having
Yes.
10 people having to find. So there's, like, I think some sense of, the greater good that we need to think
Good.
about when we just talk
Yeah.
about an individual perspective, a
Mm.
selfish perspective, it creates problems. I know of a
Mm.
company that had to close because an employee took them to CCMA
CCMA.
for settlement, and the settlement was huge, which forced the company to close down. So everyone
Sure.
else lost their jobs, but the one person got their
Yeah.
money. The one person got their
Yeah.
money, but everyone else
So
lost their
the
job.
greater good didn't apply in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
case.
So, I mean,
I mean,
it's always a difficult thing to talk about
yeah.
because
Richard, I think the to add to what you said, I think that art specific article is painting all businesses or corporations with the same brush, right? So I would be very comfortable talking to you about that, and we had that conversation about the whole leave scenario, and you know, you always had the goal of imagination's got to survive at the at the end. You know, the whole concept of greater good, etc. You know, so if you're not going to have that conversation, then you literally just there's absolutely no plan as you go on this tricky journey that we're on at the moment. So that is very frustrating. I think you mentioned that article to me before. So yeah, I can't. So sometimes, and again, we not want to be we don't want to be far on the wrong side of the law, but you know, surely you should be able to have that type of conversations. You know, you're not trying to do any employee in, but you're thinking of the bigger picture, and that's how I view it as
yeah,
well.
yeah. So, I mean, hey, these are tough. Once you start employing people in a business as a business owner, it changes the dynamic completely. It's a great thing. It's very rewarding to be able to create a job,
Yeah,
and give somebody else part of what you work for, and create economic activity and all these good things. But it's also not easy. It's challenging. It's like getting married to someone. Now you suddenly in a relationship with someone. You're trying to work towards the same goal. Their goals may be different to your goals.
definitely.
So being that employer, being someone that's creating those opportunities, you have a certain expectation, and it's on all of us, to take that
Yeah.
seriously and to have the responsibility that says, "Hey, I want to achieve this. This is the business I'm building. I want to achieve this. I'm hiring you to help
Mm.
build this part of it." You know, in that there's some stuff that you can achieve, whether it be experience, whether it be growth from a career
Yeah.
perspective or personal, whether it's money, you get paid a good salary, um, and or whether what I've done before is there's partnership, there's equity at the end of the line,
Correct.
meeting
Yeah.
certain goals. So
Yeah.
that can also be incentive. Um,
Mm.
but when we sort of round out, like now we still kind of we still in COVID-19, we're still feeling the results. I think everyone's kind of settled into it.
Mm. Yeah.
If somebody's starting a business today, Jermaine, what's going to be your advice to them? They're saying, well, we're registering, newco.pty limited.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, what do I need to have in place, Jermaine? Like, if that was the questions somebody would ask you.
Well, the typical request that we've received over the last 2 weeks is most newcos are centered around the whole PPE. You know, everyone is going that direction. You know, PPE, PPE. Yes, PPE is going to be around for a while, but any advice I can give is keep your business as lean as you can. I think you mentioned it earlier in terms of staff. I think for now you got to be as lean as you can be in terms of not adding cost to your base. You know, be efficient, protect your contract, um, and yeah, just be as lean as you can be, or for as long as it permits you to run that model. Um, in terms of if you can work from home, work from home. Anyone renting space now, I think it's crazy. So,
Yeah, thanks
so
for that.
I think this podcast might put a lot of landlords might be up in arms with that comment, but yeah, that's just run lean, Richard, in terms of cost. If you can, if you can, if you can do it that way.
Yeah,
But again, I think as mentioned it earlier, I think there's opportunities. There's opportunities. It's and then we've like I said, we've registered 3 new codes over the last week.
wow, fantastic.
So people are clearly, they see the opportunities. So yeah, good luck to them.
Yeah, whenever people ask me about like should they start a business or not, I give them the same advice I give to people when they ask me should I get married, which is
Mm.
fairly simple. It's just wrapped up in 2 words: don't do it.
Do it.
It's 3 words, but okay, it's fine.
Do it. I get it. I
Uh,
get it.
but I
Yeah.
mean, I'm just kidding. It's a plan. So if there is anything that I've learned, the lessons that I've taken out of this, it's be on top of your finances, like really, really, really hard. Like if you say I'm not a numbers guy, I'm not like become a numbers guy. Like you have to,
I agree.
especially when you're a small business, you have to know like debits and credits. At least at a principal level, they plus and minuses on either side. Like the cash flow, you have to know those things. Those are so important. I took for granted a lot of this stuff before. I mean, I've worked with great accountants like yourself for a long time, so I didn't really need to worry about those things. But when the rubber hit the road, I actually had to make decisions. I had to look at it. The accountant's just putting the numbers together for you, and they can try and educate you. But if you're not ready to receive or understand the language, you're not gonna know what they're saying, the advice they're giving. You go, yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, let's get done with this. But so you gotta learn accounting. You gotta learn those numbers. Like, what does it mean to like a cash flow? What do people say when they say cash flow is king? Money in the bank. What's your runway? You gotta understand things like that. Like, how much will the money in the bank last you if your doors had to close today?
As today. Yeah.
That's what COVID
Yeah.
19 taught us. Like, the money in the bank, how long will it last you if you were forced to close your doors today? You know, things that's out of your control. Like, I'm hoping that most businesses, all businesses, people, families in general, come out with that lesson that is like they have to save, they have to have some money in the bank, and
Yeah.
how much will that money take you? And then, of course, the big lesson that is we had to cut back a lot of expenses. Fortunately, we had started a journey about a year ago. Um, as a business, we were
Yeah.
looking at things, and you've
Yeah.
worked with us, and well, the couple of unnecessary stuff. We cut a lot of things out, and we say, well, we don't actually need these things. We don't need this. We are one of those businesses that have offices, and we had a beautiful office in Cape Town. Um, Fantastic views. We had to downscale that. Fortunately, it worked out with the landlord. And now we look to it and say, well, we don't need offices anymore. It's rethinking your workforce, how
Yeah.
we're going to structure a workforce to get things done. If you really need to hire that person, and I mean, it's just a reality where we are in an environment where the law doesn't really favor a small business. The labor law is the same for a business that makes 100 rand a month
Yeah.
as it is
Yeah.
for a business that makes 100 million rand a month, and that's
Yeah.
crazy. Like,
Mm.
it's so difficult. You don't have the resources that the
Mm.
100 million a month business has. So when you're a small business, my advice would be to hire slow, like really slow, and don't hire if you don't have to. And I know that that's not popular in South Africa, and the environment we need to be creating jobs. Like, I 100% agree with that. It's been
Yeah.
it's been one of our values since we started. We forwent profit in favor of creating employment. We hired people rather than taking away profit. But it
Yeah.
like got to a point where that hurt us in the
Mm.
end. And so for any new business starting, like, you got to learn the numbers. You got to learn the difference between uh, good debt and bad debt. There is good debt out there. But
Yeah.
if the beginning, stay away from debt if you can. Um,
Mm.
get your house in order, but learn those numbers. Have cash flow. Understand what cash flow means, and check it every week, every month if you can. Well, you should every month at
Mm.
least. Have the
Mm.
discussions with your accountants. Get up to date and get accountants. Like
Mm.
that is key. It's
Mm.
made a big difference for me. It's like um, we've had to have a lot of statutory documents in place. As a small business, allowed me to compete with big business, so like having or other small businesses. I'd compete them simply because I had my house in order. Um,
Order. Yeah.
and so that is my takeaway for anyone that's in business now or wanting to get into business, is have a strong financial understanding of your business and work with a partner, an
Partner.
accountant
Yeah.
that can help you with that. That's not just going to punch in numbers and send you an income statement. Is that's going to guide you through setting up your cash flow statement and working with you on that cash flow statement. Yeah.
Mm. 100%, Richard. You've actually summed it up brilliantly, because the old school accountant would do the numbers. By the time he sends the numbers back to you, business has changed. It's you're already too late. So instead of being that historical accountant, your accountant has to be there in the trenches with you, right there. And thankfully, I mean, we've walked a long path together in perfecting that model. From your early beginnings to where we are now with your numbers, and not everyone, not every small or entrepreneur, they don't always get it. And I think you summed it up earlier as well, where you said, no, I got my accountant will handle it. And we a lot of those guys take it for granted that we actually there to mentor you to understand those numbers, every single line item on that income statement, especially your balance sheet, which will be critical. So yeah, just understand your numbers, like Richard said.
Yeah, so so I think as these conversations develop, as we try to understand like the different things that people are going through now with COVID and their businesses, and getting to grips with what's happening in the environment, how to grow their business. There's certain things that I'm sure we will continue to unpack,
Yeah,
and hopefully we can get an audience firstly, and then get an audience involved in conversations. It's just sort of what the questions are that they're asking.
sure. Mm.
Again, so for if you are watching this, thank you so much for checking it out. I hope you're having a good laugh at us, trying to get this going. We are
Yeah,
both business owners. Jermaine focuses on finance and accounting. I focus on data and analytics and IT, um, and through that we've had discussions about business, and because of our experience, we understand that there's lots of things that different business owners struggle, and so we doing this more as a conversation for you to know that other people out there are also struggling. You don't have to struggle
yeah,
on your own. Um, if you feel that you don't have an entrepreneur group that you can reach and talk about business things, feel
mm,
free to connect with us, whether it be through comments, whether it be just sending an email, and trying to strike up a conversation. I, for one, will answer any email that comes through to me. I'm committed to entrepreneurs. I know what it's like to start out, to feel alone, feel like you're in the wilderness, and not know which way to go. And especially in times like this, where it's just uncharted territory. One of the things that so Jermaine, one of the things that I'm feeling like is just that all these
yeah,
funds, all this money that was created, like who was it for? Because I don't know many people that got like reasonable amounts
yeah.
of money
I
that can sustain their business. Um, we
uh,
so it's just
yeah.
like where's the money? Like who was it
Yeah,
for?
Richard. Yeah, yeah. I mean, apparently it was for us small business, right? But so there's always this little side note that yes, you have in a normal world you have to be compliant. Yeah, your taxes will all have to be updated, etc. But a lot of guys fell foul because clients couldn't pay them, which meant they couldn't pay the receiver of revenue, which meant they couldn't get tax compliance. So at the gate, they chuck you out already, so you won't even make it to the next stage. And that was for most businesses, eh? So there was a sticking point right there. You went out of compliance just for 1 month. In that 1 month, you needed to get that application in. No amount of letters that we as accountants sent with your application could make those guys that change their minds. Eh? So yeah, there's apparently a bucket full of cash out there, but very difficult to access, Richard.
I mean, a bucket full of cash, and it's sounding like the conversations in Parliament is really that the money's run dry. So 500
Yeah,
billion.
well, still don't know where they got that from, but yeah,
I mean, I argue that wow. I mean, you got like you should just give each adult citizen like a million, and
yeah,
problem solved. Like um,
yeah.
people
I
argue
agree with
that
that.
socially it will create other issues. I'll be like, yeah, like, but who you giving the money to and what's it for? Like,
Yeah,
I'll just give it to the people, because that's the
yeah.
people are the ones that's suffering. Just give
That
them each a
that
million.
that's where the people are suffering. I can't agree with you more. Yeah,
So, but yeah, I mean, obviously that's won't be a popular view because the businesses must survive. The businesses,
The
the
corporations.
corporations,
Yes.
survive. So always the odd one. Cool, Jermaine. Any parting thoughts that you'd like to leave with anyone who's watching this?
Well, Richard, firstly, just thanks for this. This is, I must be honest, was a bit nervous when you first pitched it to me a couple of months ago. But like you said before, as entrepreneurs, it can be a very lonely world. You don't always want to go home, talk to your wife. Yes, you talk to your wife about the challenges you faced, etc. But then those difficult thoughts that's in your mind. What do you do tomorrow? Can you, will you get the fee income in? So this type of forum is fantastic. So I must say thank you to you first and foremost. And yeah, I mean, if there's anyone out there that got questions, I will echo what Richard says or said. Yeah, we will try and answer them because this is a brilliant forum.
Great,
So
cool.
thanks, Richard.
Pleasure. But it's it takes everyone, and it takes the audience watching this for this to actually be
Yeah, to drive it. Yeah,
something. So don't forget, Jermaine, tick, 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 tick. Number crunching. I do IT. I'm not sure how to display IT also, but we're both trying to tick, 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 tick.
yeah,
So yeah, and if you have any questions around it, it's IT, whether it's accounting, finance questions, we'd love to hear from you. Whether you just want to talk about entrepreneurship and business, or whether you've got some advice for us or what to do in
yeah,
our settings and things that you want to hear about. Cool. So
100%.
from me,
Cool.
Richard, cheers. This has
From me,
been
Jermaine.
fantastic.
Keep well, guys.